I'm a landscape photographer. I spend more time in the woods than most people spend in their own homes. I know how to read a forest. I know what belongs there and what doesn't. 8 weeks ago, I found a clearing I had never seen before. A stone structure in the center. Objects arranged carefully around the base. Personal items. A child's shoe. A photograph. Warnings left by people who had learned the hard way. I didn't touch anything. I took my photographs and I left. But something came home with me anyway. And when I went back to return it, I found something in the photographs I had taken that morning. Something that made me question whether it was ever really about the photograph at all. This is what I found in those woods, and what it left behind. My name is Sarah. I'm 29. I'm a landscape photographer, which means I spend a lot of time outside. Early mornings, late evenings, places most people don't bother going. I tell you this because finding things in the woods isn't unusual for me. Animal bones, abandoned structures, old equipment left to rust. I've seen all of it. None of it has ever bothered me. Until 8 weeks ago. I moved to the house in rural Vermont 18 months ago. Deliberately remote. That was the whole point. The nearest neighbor is a man named Carl Briggs, 63 years old. Former electrician, lives alone about half a mile down the road, waves when he passes in his truck, occasionally leaves vegetables from his garden on my porch. Good neighbor in the way that good rural neighbors are. Present enough to be reassuring, distant enough to give you space. The woods behind my house stretch for several miles. No trails, no markers. Just trees and undergrowth and the occasional deer path cutting through the brush. I walk them regularly for work. Know them well enough to move through without getting turned around. 8 weeks ago, I went out early, just after 5 in the morning. Clear sky, good light coming. I was heading toward a ridge about 40 minutes in where I'd been getting good shots of the valley below. I was about 20 minutes from the house when I found it. A clearing I had never seen before, which sounds impossible given how often I walk those woods. But I had never been to that particular spot. Or, if I had, it had never looked like this. The clearing was roughly circular, maybe 15 meters across. No trees growing inside the boundary, just flat ground, covered in a layer of dark soil that looked different from the surrounding forest floor. Denser somehow. More deliberate. In the center of the clearing was a structure, low to the ground, about the size and shape of a large dining table, made from flat stones stacked carefully on top of each other. Dry stone construction. No mortar, just weight and balance holding it together. I stood at the edge of the clearing for a while, just looking, trying to figure out what I was looking at. The stones were old, weathered and moss-covered. Whatever this was, it had been here for a long time. I took photographs. That's what I do when I find something I don't understand. I document it. Wide shots of the clearing, close shots of the stone structure, the surrounding tree line, the quality of the soil. Then I walk closer. The structure had a flat top surface, smooth in the center, like it had been worn down by repeated use or contact. Around the edges of the top surface there were markings, carved into the stone, symbols I didn't recognize, geometric shapes mostly, repeating patterns that circled the entire perimeter. I photographed those too. On the ground around the base of the structure, there were objects, small ones, placed deliberately from the look of it, not dropped or scattered. Arranged. Animal bones mostly. Small animals. Birds maybe. Or rabbits. Arranged in a rough circle around the stone base. And among the bones, personal items. A child's shoe. A wristwatch with a cracked face. A small photograph laminated in plastic. A woman. And a young girl standing in front of a house. Smiling. I stood there for a long time. Camera lowered, looking at those objects arranged carefully in the dirt. Then I heard something. movement in the trees at the far edge of the clearing. I looked up. A deer maybe, or a fox. Something moving through the brush. The movement stopped. Silence. I waited. Nothing. I took a few more photographs and left. Walked back to the house faster than I normally would. Told myself I wasn't scared. Just had enough material for the day. I showed the photographs to Carl that afternoon. Drove down to his place and knocked on the door. He answered quickly and invited me in without me asking. Made coffee. Sat across from me at his kitchen table. I pulled up the photos on my camera and slid it across to him. He looked at the first one, then the second. Then he put the camera down on the table and pushed it back toward me without looking at the rest. He asked me how far into the woods I had gone. I told him, about 20 minutes northeast. He nodded slowly, like that confirmed something he had been hoping wasn't true. I asked him what it was, what that structure was, whether he knew about it. He was quiet for a moment. Then he said he knew about it. Said most people who had lived out here long enough knew about it. Said the ones who were smart didn't go back. I asked him why. He picked up his coffee cup, looked at the table, and said that clearing had been there longer than any house on this road, longer than any person currently living here could remember, and that the things arranged around that stone, those personal items, those weren't left as offerings. He looked at me then. They were left as warnings, by people who wanted others to stay away, people who had learned the hard way why that was necessary. I asked him how they had learned. He shook his head, said that was a conversation for another day, said the most important thing right now was one question. Did I touch anything in that clearing? I thought about it. The photographs, the bones, the personal items. I hadn't touched any of it. I told him no. He let out a slow breath, said good, said as long as I hadn't touched anything I should be fine. Said I just needed to stay out of those woods for a while. Give it time. I drove home feeling slightly better. But when I got inside and went to put my camera on the kitchen counter, I noticed something. The laminated photograph, the one from the clearing, the woman, and the young girl standing in front of a house. It was sitting on my kitchen table. I hadn't brought it home. I hadn't touched it. I hadn't gone near it. But it was there. I called Carl immediately, told him about the photograph, that it was on my kitchen table, that I hadn't touched it, that I hadn't brought it home. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he said to lock my doors. All of them. Don't go outside tonight. He would come over in the morning. I asked him what was happening. He said he would explain tomorrow. Said tonight I just needed to stay inside. I locked everything, every door, every window, sat on the couch with every light in the house burning, and the photograph face down on the kitchen table. I didn't want to look at it. Sometime after midnight, I heard something outside. Movement in the tree line at the back of the property. Slow and deliberate, like something moving through the underbrush without any particular urgency. I didn't go to the window. I turned the television on loud and sat with my back to the wall until morning. Carl arrived just after 7. He came inside and sat at the kitchen table, looked at the photograph for a long time without touching it. Then he told me what he knew. He said the clearing had been in those woods for as long as anyone in the area could remember. The oldest people he had spoken to over the years. Farmers mostly. Families that had been on this land for generations. None of them knew who had built the stone structure, or why, only that it had always been there, and that the rule had always been the same. Don't go near it, don't touch what's around it, and never bring anything back from it. I told him again that I hadn't touched anything. He pointed at the photograph on the table, said something had decided otherwise. He told me about a man named Thomas Weller, a farmer who had lived 2 properties over about 30 years ago. Thomas had found the clearing while hunting, had taken one of the objects from around the base of the structure, a small carved figure, thought it was interesting, brought her home. Within a week, Thomas had started seeing things at the edge of his property at night, shapes in the tree line, movement that stopped whenever he looked directly at it. Within a month, he had stopped sleeping, stopped eating properly. His wife, Margaret, had called the doctor twice. Both times Thomas had been given a clean bill of physical health. 3 months after finding the clearing, Thomas Weller had walked into those woods alone at 2 a.m. His wife, Margaret, had reported him missing the next day. He was never found. Carl looked at me carefully after telling me that, said Thomas had made 2 mistakes. He had taken something, and he had gone back. I told him I hadn't taken anything. He pointed at the photograph again, said it didn't matter what I intended. Something had come back with me regardless. He said the only thing to do now was return it, go back to the clearing, place it exactly where it had been sitting, and then leave immediately. Don't look back. Don't stop. Don't linger. I asked him to come with me. He shook his head, said he was sorry, said he couldn't go back to that clearing, had made that decision a long time ago, said this was something I had to do alone. I asked him what he meant by going back. He looked out my kitchen window at the tree line for a moment, then said the less I knew about his history with that place, the better. I went the next morning, early, before the light changed. Camera left at home this time. Just me and the photograph in my jacket pocket. The clearing looked the same. Stone structure in the center. Objects arranged around the base. That same flat, dark soil. That same quality of silence that felt heavier than normal forest quiet. I walked to the base of the structure, crouched down, found the exact spot where the photograph had been sitting. A faint outline in the soil where it had rested. I placed it back, stood up, and walked out of that clearing without looking back. Didn't stop, didn't slow down. Walked a full 20 minutes back to my house at a pace just below running. That was 5 weeks ago. The sounds at night stopped after that. No more movement in the tree line. No more objects appearing where they shouldn't. Nothing. I thought it was over. Last week I was going to the photographs I had taken that morning in the clearing. I hadn't looked at them since it happened. Had been avoiding them. I scrolled through slowly. The wide shots of the clearing. The stone structure. The markings on the stone. The objects arranged in the dirt. And then I stopped. In the last photograph I had taken before leaving the clearing that first morning, a wide shot of the tree line on the far side, the one where I had heard movement. There was someone standing in the trees, partially hidden, completely still, facing the clearing. I hadn't seen anyone that morning. I was certain of that. I zoomed in on the photograph, tried to make out the face. It took me a long moment to understand what I was seeing. The person standing in the tree line, partially hidden in the shadows, was me. Same jacket, same camera bag over one shoulder, same hair, standing in the trees, watching myself take photographs. I haven't been back into those woods since, and I have started to wonder whether what I returned to that clearing was actually the photograph or something else entirely.